Okay, we're recording.
Sweet.
Good morning. This is our Happy House Hunters meetup. We normally meet up at Gresso's, and of course, with all the restaurants closed down this time, we can't do that. So we're meeting on Zoom, and we are going to bring a great presentation to you today. So we have Stephanie, wave.
Hi, guys.
And I'm Kathy. And then we have Roman.
Hey guys.
And Paul. And Nathan.
Hello.
And we are missing Josh. He's still working, so some of us have to work, right?
Right.
So anyway, today we are going to talk about flipping. We're currently in a series with this group on finding real estate, funding real estate, fixing the real estate, then flipping it, filling it, and finally freedom. What is your freedom number in real estate? So today we're going to focus on the flipping, but all of it works together. So at some point, we'll talk a little bit about how we find it, how we fund it, how we fix it, how we flip it, and how we work some of those numbers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the guys, and I'm just going to let you kind of take off and do your thing. I don't know who's up first, but who's ever on first, it's your turn.
All righty. So
Go ahead, Roman.
I want to go ahead introduce Nathan, since he's going to be the primary step as far as finding leads and kind of venting them first before the flip house goes. So go ahead, Nathan.
So I'm Nathan Price. So the part I prepared actually talks about a lot of stuff that goes in the mindset of doing the acquisitions and stuff too, because what makes this all so successful is when you kind of simplify it down and kind of get it down to its roots is you are going to acquire property, you're going to fix the property, and then you're going to sell the property. You don't have to share yet, Paul. But basically, a lot of it comes down to mindset, because with having the market we have in Columbus right now, you have a lot of people competing for the same properties. It can get discouraging very quickly because a lot of times when you watch HGTV or you hear about a lot of other people that are entrenched in this process in Columbus especially, it's very easy to get discouraged because they have there's a lot of people that are doing it at a high level. So sometimes it seems daunting getting started, and a lot of these deals where the money's made is at the acquisition, actually. So getting the correct property. The process is simple. It's not easy. And that's why one of the big things that I wanted to talk about too is it has to almost totally do with mindset. Just because, getting the right partners is crucial in the process. And, it doesn't mean you're not, if you're a solo person doing the flips, that's totally fine. It works out great that way. You do a little bit more legwork getting all the right pieces to the puzzle. And so like finding someone like Stephanie that has a lot of connections in real estate and can help do that too. Partnering with good general contractors, that's what we do. And then kind of piecing it all together and making it a successful transaction. That's the biggest part that I wanted to touch on as far as the acquisitions go too. It's not just going and picking somebody and you don't want to get the property before you have all the other pieces to the puzzle in place. It's about 90% of the homework and the legwork and the research and doing everything else. And it's like 10% of actually going and buying the property. So that's one of the biggest things that I was kind of wanting to focus on. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to have me roll right into it then, or
absolutely. Absolutely. What kind of legwork do you put in before you acquire a property?
So, and Stephanie, I think you can attest to this too, is that you have to kind of have this narrow focus on what you want to be investing in. Because any property can be an investment property if you have an end goal that will fit that property.
Right.
So what I've always done is I try to focus on a specific farm. And the reason I call the investment farming is a little bit different than what real estate agents do is when they farm a neighborhood, they pick a certain neighborhood they want to put all their marketing into, all their time, and they build themselves up to be known as that person in that neighborhood. Well, investing when you do a farm, as far as that goes, you're researching and you become like a local expert of this little pocket of properties. And what you want to do is hyper familiarize yourself with how much the properties sell for, what the typical rental rates are around there. You want to know what the average like resale value is. You want to know all these things about a specific area before you even start looking at properties. Because what happens is you can start to, one house that looks similar in Hilltop is going to look very similar to a house in Clintonville. And as we know, those two property values are way different, but they're going to be built around the same time, and they're going to look identical and have the same floor plans, same layouts, and sometimes even similar finishes. But those two properties are going to be way different as far as what the end result would most likely be with your type of flip. So having a farm and having like a specific area you want to focus on as a new investor too is crucial. So that's kind of that's one of the big things with the research. That's part of that 90%. The second thing is getting with someone that is like finding the local experts. So finding a realtor that might be more investment centered, finding, even if you drive in the neighborhood and find some crews that are working out there flipping houses in an area you like, maybe stopping and talking to them and find out who owns the house and picking their brain, just asking them questions about how they did that. And that's why these meetups are so important, is that you get to have that FaceTime with people that are already doing it and people that are doing it at a high level. And it's an open forum. You get to ask any questions that you might have. The other thing is, you don't know what you don't know until you realize that you don't know it. So
Right.
just listening to other people's questions is really good too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, the farm is really important. Getting to know the local experts and other people that are doing it at a high level is good, because really you don't want to try to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to try to make this a totally unique and one-off experience, because what happens is when you try to overcomplicate things, it's already working so well for so many other people. So all you need to do is mimic what they're doing and repeat it. So with that being said too, some of the other things to think about is having some standards in place for while you're researching your farm and you're researching your teammates and other people that are local experts. You want to have the end result in mind before you even start. So when we talk about standard finishes and stuff like that, the reason it comes is important for the acquisition part too, is you can over improve a property. So like, a house in the Hilltop, for example, you're probably not going to go ahead and put luxury appliances in there and do really, really expensive flooring and quartz countertops or Cambria countertops and stuff like that. Over the top finishes, just because the neighborhood doesn't really call for finishes like that. You can over improve a property really quick. So knowing your farm, having your team, and actually having these standard finishes for the area, for what it calls for. If you have a hard time deciding what would be over improving a property, talk to your realtor, talk to your teammate, talk to the people that you're partnering with ahead of time. So that way you want to streamline the process as much as possible once you acquire the property. Now funding is another big thing. Obviously I'm going to use cash as an example for right now. So like if you're putting your own cash into it, you don't have carrying costs quite like someone using a hard money loan. So you might think that you can kind of sit back and take your time on your project, but with the climate we're in right now, no one could foresee a pandemic. No one could foresee that, people are going to be holding properties a lot longer than they might with the given state. So one of the things that's really important with having all these elements in place ahead of time is that when you're flipping the property or you're doing a burr method or you're doing a condo conversion, the other reason it's so important to have the speed of the project is that you don't know what it's going to look like 2 weeks from today. You don't know what the market's going to do. So there always needs to be a sense of urgency with your projects. There always needs to be that. Don't get analysis paralysis. That's a saying that I use a lot too. And don't overanalyze things. And this is, one of the things that comes with all this research and all the planning, is that once you acquire the property, you've become a local expert of your farm. You've got all your teammates in place. You've got your standard finishes picked out. You know what the final product's going to sell. You know that you're probably, if you're targeting investors, you know that you can start pre-marketing at some of these events, like like our event, any of these other events, and you can start pre-marketing your property as it's getting done. So all these things lead up to having it be, you take all the emotions out of buying the property then. When you find a subject property, you know what your budget you want it to be, because you've got your standard finishes, you've got your contractors. All the variables have essentially been taken out of it, because you know that once you get in that property, you've already done all your research, you've done all your homework. Now what you're doing is you are a professional before you've even done your first flip, because you've got all the other people that are part of your team now who are helping you, who have done it. I've heard of stories where it's like, if you want to start an engineering company, but you have no background in engineering, you just hire the people that have the experience. If that's your dream to own an engineering firm, hire engineers, hire all the people that need to help you get your dream completed. No one's an expert when they do it the first time. No one is. So that's why it's so important to take the time and research and build your team first. There's never a property that's worth it. There's never a deal that's worth it that comes along for you to buy it before you have your team in place. Some of those like once in a lifetime deals, like too good to be true, sometimes they are, if you're not prepared to take on that project. With all that being said, all this research that we just talked about, none of that has even had to do with buying the property yet. So you can just see there's a lot of steps you do ahead of time before you even buy the property. And honestly, I know that for me personally, when I would tell people that I was really interested in flipping houses and actually more so doing buy and hold rentals, you have a lot of people give their opinions about why you shouldn't do that. A lot of people are going to tell you why it's not good. You shouldn't do that. It's so risky. There's so many things, and they're going to really kind of beat you down about why you shouldn't be doing it. And that's okay, because you know what? That's not in their comfort level. That's outside of what they're comfortable with. You come to these meetups and you hear about all the people that are doing it, and they're doing it well. They're doing it at a high level. Those are the people you need to dissociate with. And so distancing yourself from negative people, some of the most negative people were some of my family members, because they care about you the most. And so they're going to be some of the biggest opponents you have to face. And honestly, distancing yourself from negative people is part of this process. You need to make sure you're associating with like-minded people. And it doesn't mean don't talk about what you want to do. I tell everybody I love real estate. I tell everybody I want to invest. And I'd say over 70% of the people tell me why it's a bad idea. Oh, this economy is bad. What are you going to do with coronavirus now? What's going on right now? All these bad things. Having your teams in place ahead of time and having all of your check marks, your check boxes checked and everything like that, knowing that your farm, if you've done your research and you have your farm, you're going to start seeing something really good happen. And you're going to see your farm, there's going to be properties that pop up in your farm. And all of a sudden, there's actually a lot of properties that are going to fit your model for what's going to help get your goals achieved. So a lot of times there's people that are scared during this this time. And I think, rightfully so, it's a scary time. But as someone that's taken it upon themselves to want to invest in real estate and everything like that, this is not a time for us to be scared, because we know we have our black and white numbers. We know what fits the bill. We know we have our teams in place. And as long as our entire team's intact and everyone's healthy and everyone's doing well, it doesn't stop for us. Like, this does not stop the motion. This is actually a time when we can put the pedal to the metal and actually advance our goals a lot faster. So that's, touching on the coronavirus a little bit too right now. There's a lot of people that are scared. And I think when you have your plan in place and you realize that as far as investing goes, there's actually a lot of opportunity right now too, that takes a lot of the it takes a lot of the worries and scariness of this market, and you can kind of turn it up on its head just by seeing how much aligns and actually fits with your plan you put in place, just by being prepared. So, that's one of the other good things, is that even when something like this happens, your preparedness and all the homework that you did ahead of time actually creates a really good opportunity where you can thrive in an environment like this. So I had some videos in my link. We should probably just, when we can email those out to people, because I have a video by Les Brown where he talks about, and this kind of goes to the negative people in your life. He talks about bamboo trees. And I'll tell it really quick, but he does a way better job telling the story. It takes 5 years of watering and fertilizing the soil where bamboo grows for it to even start to sprout. So he tells a story of, imagine you're sitting out in your front yard and you're watering this dirt pile, and people walk by you, the neighbors, the people you care about. You see them every day. You see them at the grocery store. You see them when you pick up your mail, and they go, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "Well, I'm growing a bamboo tree." And they go, "Are you?" "Well, I've seen you out here every day. All you're doing is watering mud." And he goes, "Well, just wait. You'll see. There's going to be a bamboo tree." So every single day you're watering your bamboo tree, and it's just watering mud. All you're doing is every day. If you miss one day of watering, the bamboo won't grow. So 5 years you do this for. And on that 5th year, the bamboo starts to poke out of the ground. And once bamboo pokes out of the ground, it only takes about a couple of weeks for it to shoot up 90 feet in the air. So the question is, does it take several weeks to grow bamboo, or does it take 5 years? And really the answer is 5 years, but the hardest part about that is having the grit and trusting your process and knowing that all this time and all this effort and all these events we go to, all the research, all the networking, everything we do is worth it in the end. And that's when it takes off exponentially. And it's hard to see it at the beginning. It's hard to see it when you're just watering your patch of mud. But at the end of that, at the end of all that hard work, you get your bamboo. But, and to tie all this in too, I think one of the most important things about everything I just said is taking time to figure out your why. Like, why do you want to be doing this? Why do you want to invest in real estate? What is it that makes real estate your vessel you choose to invest in? So with all these things, you have to make sure that you have like your true north. You have to know why you're doing it every single day, because there's going to be a lot of people that discourage you along the way, and they don't mean to. They're not trying to be mean, but you're going to have a lot of people try to derail you, and there's going to be a lot of people that beat you down, and there's going to be a lot of people along the way that try to affect you without meaning to. They're trying to protect you. They're coming from a place of like concern and worry. But and building your team and being around other like-minded people that are doing it, just focus on your big why. It will literally, investing in real estate is the fastest way to grow wealth, and it's how almost all the wealthy people in the world have real estate in some aspect of their life and portfolios. So, just know that what you're doing and the fact that you're even tuning into this right now sets you a cut above everybody else. So just focus on your why, lean on your team, and just become a student of your profession, become a student every single day, try to learn more about this, and just keep growing. So
Nathan, that's great. I remember over the years me getting started into the real estate. I can relate to a lot of what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Hard, because people that you care the most, their words cut you like a dagger sometimes, and they're trying to come from a place of caring, and it does the opposite effect.
Absolutely.
So that's the first initial step. Is finding that why, because that's like the initial spark to everything that you do. And then once you get that, and sometimes it may last for 5 minutes for some people, sometimes a week, sometimes months, and then there's those like us that lasts for years. We still have that purpose. Like, there's a reason why we do what we do, and but obviously to achieve that goal, you have to follow each specific step. And the next step for us was, okay, so now we understand what we need to do. Now it's property venting. So we gotta find the property, figure out if these properties are good, and then basically the next step is like numbers. Okay, do the numbers make sense? You know, at the end of the day, you know, you're doing it not because you're bored or because you have nothing else to do in life. You're doing it because you want to be successful and you want to build something for your future. So that's the next step is numbers. You know, doing budgeting, figuring out, okay, how much can I sell, you know, this property after ARV, and you know, and how much can I buy it for? You know, negotiate, and then how much can I, you know, renovate it for, and what kind of tier of design am I going to be able to renovate it for to sell it for what I'm asking. So I think Paul could go a little bit more in detail as far as you know, gain the specifics as far as you know how to budget it out, how to plan it out, you know, schedule. It's, you know, in the business of construction, you know, uh, in the business of construction, time frame is the most important part, aside from money and you know material and everything. So I'll go ahead and let Paul take over.
Right.
That's fine.
Okay, everybody. I'm Paul Hayes. How do we get that thing? Okay. I do a little bit of everything here, kind of the back end guy. But the next process you want to go through, so as Roman was talking about, you look at your comps. You know, you look at your comps for the area. You have the property, and then someone like me or Josh goes in, and we take a look at the price points. All right, so let's say we can get this property at $120,000 renovation. Comps are, you know, you look at the numbers to see if it makes sense for how much you purchase house for it. Maybe the ARV is like 320, you know, you get it. So you look at those numbers, see what makes sense, but you got to make sure what the investors want. So do they want the granite? Do they want the tile? Do we need the LVT? Like, what are they looking for? So when you have that, you go in and I do a scope of work, pictures, and I'll get together like absolutely everything we need. We build up materials. And like Nathan was saying before, it's about the people. So I'm a people person. You know, we go in, it's relationships. So everybody that you're working with, your team, you have to make sure you have good relationships. So you get your guys together, your crews, and you just make sure you communicate clearly with them. You get your permits, you get their scope of work, you get your contract signed. You have everything prepared up front. So once you decide, like, yes, we're taking this, we're getting this property, let's go forward, you already have all your ducks in a row and what you need to make things move smoothly so you don't get behind. But of course, there's always times at properties you gotta be used to it. Like, things will happen. Nothing. It's very rare where things go perfect. So you just gotta account for staying calm. Like you said, not getting over analysis paralysis. Yeah, so I'm an analyzer. It's what I do. But you just realize, like, okay, this happened. What do we do? Solutions. You just find the solution. You move forward. You make it make sense, and then you make it work. So it just all flows together. Josh and I and Roman, we work tag team on those things, and Roman is back end, so we got all the finances. We'll know per the job, like, all right, this much money is coming in for this section. This is what we owe our contractors. This is what our materials are going to cost. So, okay, this week we're making sure this is done, and then we go next step. It all steps off of each other. And then you just follow through till you get it complete. You get your inspections, and boom, property is on the market, ready to go.
Wow.
You know,
Go ahead, Roman.
oh, I was gonna say, you know, Paul put it very, you know, plainly and very nicely, but it does take time. It's definitely patience. It's a very patience business. You know, you're gonna deal with a lot of things. You have a lot of issues you may come up with, but you have to be able to know how to take care of those issues, and doing them in a way that you think about them. You don't try to throw yourself right on top of it and you know make irrational decisions. In the business of construction, you always want to make sure you evaluate things. You know, consider other avenues. You know, issues like happen. For example, it rained so bad a couple of days ago where one of my houses actually flooded.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, it flooded. It was a 1 foot flooded. But here's the thing, you know, in the basement, we were, you know, renovating it to be like a third bedroom with a bathroom, and kind of living space, walkway. It's going to be great. Fully renovated, right? Flooded, everything, 1 foot. It was crazy. And I was like, okay, stay calm. Let's figure this out, you know. And so, a couple of issues happened, but we stayed calm. We took a couple of hours, to get it drained out and repaired and, figure out what the issues were. Now we're back on track and we're moving along like it never happened. It's all about keeping calm, organized, knowing where you're going. Finances is the biggest part. You don't ever want to overpay your contractors. You always want to, week by week is how, usually they like to do it, like we like to do, is we, let's say we're going to get, let's say demo, flooring done, bathroom demo done. This is how much we're going to get, right? If it matches, you pay it. You don't ever want to overpay and you never want to underpay because then somebody's going to always owe somebody. And it just doesn't make the business go as well. So, you know, that's one way to, do it. So it's about keeping calm and keeping track of your numbers. Always, evaluate. You always want to, look for avenues to be better, but sticking to the plan. That's the biggest thing is sticking to your plan, sticking to the schedule. Things are going to happen when, something goes a little wrong. You're going to have to catch up. That's okay. You figure that out, you catch up and continue onward with your schedule. But you always want to stay with your schedule because uh, that's how you make your money is sticking to your schedule. If a project is supposed to take, let's say, a month and a half, you want to stick to that schedule because if it takes 2 months, well, then you're paying other fees. Like, let's say if you had a loan, you're paying interest on it, right? Because you're not paying it back and the property is not on the market yet. So which means you're not being able to sell your property. There's ways you can try to sell your property while you're still renovating it, but it's easier when it's actually all done and people can see the final product and what it's going to be versus halfway done. So it's always important to stick to your schedule, to stick to your budget. Um, you might go off of a little bit, off your budget a little bit. It's okay. You find a way to, maybe allocate some money somewhere else to kind of budget everything out.
And you make sure you count.
Right. And, when you do create a budget or when you do your numbers and calculate your numbers, always account for, I've learned and from experience, about $2,000 to $3,000, depending on the size of the project. You always want to make sure you allocate extra funds just in case for like basement flooding,
Yeah.
You got to pay somebody, drain the basement and, fix the issue. Sump pumps, and, stuff like that. So you always want to make sure you have that insurance basically. So that way you're not always surprised, because every job, every, thing you do is going to be different from each other. It's like they say, every kitchen is different. It's true. Every single kitchen is different. It's the same thing with properties, houses, everything. Issues, basements. I mean, you can go down the laundry list. And, so it's just important to kind of recognize that and realize that. And to achieve that, you want to make sure your initial walkthrough of the house and when you're doing the budget and scope of work, we have a sheet where we actually, do a budget, then we do comps, then we do the actual loan, like what it would cost us to get a loan maybe, depending if you have the private money, hard money, just pure liquid cash. I mean, it all depends on the person and their investor and who they're working with. You want to make sure you have all your numbers set aside, evaluate them, see, you want to have an idea of what your goal is as far as profit that you want to make. And, stick to it, but don't be too hard on yourself if you don't hit it specifically exact. Let's say $25,000. I had one client who wanted to make exactly $25,000 or more, and I was just like, well, I mean, you might have to lose 1,000 or two. Are you okay with that? You still can make some good money, but you're not gonna hit exactly $25,000 based on the purchase of the job and the property and what it's gonna take to renovate it to the market value that you're looking to sell it at. You kind of have to compromise with yourself a little bit too as well. So, don't beat yourself down too much if you're not going to hit it exactly that specific goal. The idea is to get your feet wet, and work through the project and the process. So, basically, I mean, and then that's basically, I know it's really, really generic and really, really rough. It's really hard to go into detail as far as that, because there's so much involved. But each client, they learn through the process, and we always, what we offer is we actually walk our clients through step-by-step process of what is happening. So let's say I have one client from New York, for example. Obviously, she can't be here every week, right? So what we did is we use a program where we actually keep her connected with the job, and she gets updates every other day. She gets an update on her project of what's going on, as if she was physically there, being at that job, seeing the job move along. And that's what we do, because we work with investors all throughout the U.S. But yeah, I mean, that's basically, the most generic way with some details and examples I can possibly put. But I guess the final part would be actually Nathan's, I guess, and that is basically putting the job or the property back on the market and seeing what you can get out and how to negotiate and get the best deal. Probably Stephanie could also probably give some.
That's Stephanie's part right there.
Yeah, so I think Stephanie could definitely give us some insight on that one.
Well, I do have some questions. My first question is going to be for Nathan. Nathan, you talked a little bit about the why, and your talk was a little more on the inspirational side as well. What was your why? I've been working with a gal named Sally, and she just thinks flipping property would be fun. Is that a strong enough why? Talk to us very briefly about why.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing it for a thrill, it's thrilling. It is not fun. I mean, I personally, I'll say this. I'll answer Sally's. I'm not going to answer Sally's. Well, I'll comment on my experience with that. Is that HGTV makes it look fun. When you walk into a property, and I'll use Roman's example. When you walk into a property after a big rainstorm, thinking you're just going to run in and, oh, I left my thermos. I left my favorite coffee mug on the kitchen. Let me run in and grab it real quick from that property. And then you hear and you can smell, like, it smells wet. You know the smell. A wet house smells wet. And you think you're just going to run in and grab something, and then you realize there's a foot of water in your basement. That's where it is not fun right there. I was actually listening to Ed Milet, and one of the guests he had on there is that just in boxing, like you go in with a plan until you get hit in the mouth, and then all of a sudden plans change. And that moment when you have a big hurdle like that just rear its ugly head, it's like you just got hit in the mouth. And that kind of goes back to my part about having a plan. And that right there is your true north. You need to focus on why you're doing it at that point. Like you have to, because you're like sitting there like, okay, why am I doing this again? 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 And because right then it's not fun. And if your big why is because it's fun, you'll stop right there. Because at that point, when you have to deal with a monumentous, it seems monumentous. If you think about it calmly, you'll get it handled very quickly. But at that moment, that's panic for most people. And it's not fun to deal with that. So one of my big things is like, because it's fun is not, to me, a strong enough why. And I'll share my personal experience is that when I was about 9 or 10, my uncle was in real estate. He owned about 40 rentals in Columbus. And one day I got to go hang out with Uncle Bruce. So Uncle Bruce picked me up, and at the time he had a 1995, it was awesome, Lincoln Continental. It was a brand new one. It was awesome. It had leather. It was fast, it was a fast car. I was like, whoa. So he was taking me around, and he had to go to a few of his properties. And so we walked in a few of his properties, and he was just I didn't understand what he was telling me. But I was like, he's like, this is what I do for a living. And he owned 40 rentals. And from a very young age, I was like, that's why I get to see my Uncle Bruce so much, is that he has freedom to do what he wants to do because he has 40 rentals. I didn't ask how he got there. I didn't know the timeline. My Uncle Bruce is the oldest of the siblings. So at this point, he was already in his I think his 40s or 50s. And so, like, looking at that, I was like, man, that's so great. Like that's really cool. He could play all day if he wanted to, because that's how I knew him, is he'd come and play with me. So from a very young age, I got kind of a glimpse of that world. And so when you go through high school and stuff, they don't teach you what to do, how to do life. They don't teach you, anything. I mean, they teach you stuff, but they don't really teach you about what your life trajectory should be, And so I'd always had that experience in the back of my head. And, when I'm getting to be like the time to decide to go to college or do whatever, this is, 14 years ago now, I was like, I want to invest in real estate, because if I start now,
Mhm.
I could be like Uncle Bruce and I could just play all day, even at 18, that sense of play, that fun, like.
So for you, it was all about freedom.
Yep. And it always
Yeah.
has been.
So that's your why, is freedom.
Yep.
Perfect. I love that. Roman, what is your why?
So like for me, the reason why I do what I do is my passion is actually law. Since high school, I've basically brought myself through college, went through college, got 2 degrees, worked, like, but that's my goal. That's my huge
Okay.
objective is, I want to eventually become a lawyer. And,
Okay. I didn't
I,
know that about you.
yeah, that's my big why, but also I actually want to, travel the world too, as well. So
Okay.
that's my passion.
Okay.
I love cultures. I mean, I speak a little bit of Spanish. I speak a little bit of Russian, a little bit of Chinese, a little bit, obviously, English. You wouldn't know it though, but yeah, like I love traveling the world. I love cultures, languages, like everything you could possibly think of. Like the weirdest thing, like religions and history. Like I'm very odd, but that's what I love. Like I love traveling the world. But
I
and
love it.
this is it- and this is going to give me the freedom to do it because if I invest in these properties, let's say I do burrs like rentals,
Hmm.
I I can sit back. I don't have to do a 9 to 5 day job. I can collect my income that I'm comfortable collecting and living my lifestyle that I'm looking to live. And so that's why I started at an early age. I started doing this when I was 17 years old. Uh,
Okay.
so it's like I said, it's a hard road, but your big why is what's going to feel, and you just gotta constantly remind yourself, like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Because it's easy, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easy to go, wake up, go to a job 9 to 5, get a check, come home, call it a day, because you have that consistent check. But when you're an investor, an entrepreneur, there's no really a thing called a check. Yeah, it's an investment. So you have to build yourself to that point, and then when you have built yourself to that point, then that's when you're reaping the rewards of that. But before then, that might be a month or 2 or 3 you don't get a check. So you gotta be smart about your
Mhm.
investments and how you're gonna continue living your lifestyle that you want to live, or you might have to make sacrifices to get to your goal that you're trying to get to. So it's definitely important as far as that. Yeah.
So I get that. I get that. Did we lose Paul? Is he on a phone call or something there?
Yeah, there was an appointment that we had to get to.
Okay.
Uh, unfortunately,
Okay.
yeah. Like I
Well, I'll
said, you
just,
guys are experiencing the natural of everything.
no, I get it. I get it. We're, like Stephanie said earlier, we're all a work in motion today.
Yeah.
I'll just toss this out between Nathan and Roman and see who wants to answer this one.
Okay.
The next question is, I had talked quite extensively with a gentleman named Howard, and he wants to know, how did you guys do you personally acquire these properties, or are you working for clients who acquire the properties and then they hire you to do the flip? Where do you guys fit in with your clients, and then do you guys
Right.
do your own flips for yourselves, and are you like a partnership within your circle or within your company where you actually own some of these properties? So and I don't know who wants to answer that, Roman or Nathan.
Yeah.
I can do it too with a little brevity.
Right.
Basically, so the way we came together too is that I was originally just going to hire Josh and Roman to do my flips at a high level. because I've had some contractors that didn't work out in the past. And like I said, time is money. And so while we were discussing some of our strategies and stuff like that, we kind of decided that we all have the same goal. Our whys are pretty similar, so let's join together. So we've got, we did break ground on our first property, but mainly they were already doing it at a high level for their clients, and I really liked it. So that's how we kind of formed our team. So, we have investor clients that we cater to at a high level. We have several, we have one of our own right now, and there's been a ton of come across the desk. We just kind of pretty strict parameters for our property, so we don't jump at the first one we get. And then even people that want small residential jobs done too, because we can do the whole thing, we do some of that as well. So.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that you do both.
Yeah.
You have some of your own properties that you're doing, and you're working for clients as well.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Stephanie, do you have anyone asking a question over there?
I really appreciate the stories. I do. And Roman, your life, here's Roman's life. Are you ready?
That was easy.
Roman has everything, the language and the world, traveling and the law and the flipping the homes and the knowledge of knowing what he's doing every step of the way. Paul did step out, but I heard Paul say before we came on the call that he really has a niche too for the administration and the financing part, which is so important. I really appreciate all of your viewpoints and your input. And Nathan, you didn't mention, but you're a realtor also. So you have a really unique perspective, and a great perspective actually. And Kathy, what I thought I would do is, from my perspective, from a realtor perspective, take you through my role, or any realtor's role for flipping a property. I am with Stephanie Jenkins Home Group. That's my company. I'm with Remax. And even though I was licensed in 2008, I started my first properties of renting them in 1998. And then I went on to work for builders and built custom homes ground up, and also built tract homes ground up for builders. And in 2008, I actually went to work for a commercial firm here in Columbus before starting with Remax. And almost everyone at that commercial firm here in Columbus were either an investor who I learned from, or they had an interest themselves, or they were realtors who had a part in it, including one of my own family members directly. And the realtor advantage on this, number one, is I'm going to recap a couple of things we've learned at our other meetups, and I take this so seriously, is take the first relationship you have. Speaking to what Roman said too, and Nathan said, when you have a contractor, make sure you're on time and on budget, and what your relationship is with that contractor. From the get-go, if it's good from the get-go, that's wonderful. If it's not so good from the get-go, whether it be a realtor or a contractor or a partnership, might not be somebody you want to continue working with in the future. So relationships are key right from the beginning. And in terms of my point of view, I work with investors who are in a metro area that might not be, the matter of fact, it's not at all the most desirable school district, but an up and coming area. Here in Greater Columbus, we can all see that in the Hilltop and Franklinton and what used to be called the Bottoms. There are so many surrounding areas of downtown Columbus that are Columbus schools, and boy, are they booming right around downtown, Children's Hospital. So I have investor clients who come to me to know about, they have the money or they're getting the money and they want to know what their different options are. Can I help them find property? And what do I know about the property? Nathan can speak to this too. There's a private section called agent to agent remarks that you have to have a realtor. It's invaluable. It's immediately, I wish I could forward those to my clients, but I can't. I have to read it to them or send them a text or an email. Private agent remarks for properties that come up. Every morning I read the hot sheet. Right now, there are about 100 to 150 homes being listed per day. There were more than that today, actually. And even with the coronavirus, typically would be right now in this market this spring and coming into summer, it would be about 250 homes a day, guys, that are being listed. And right now it's between 100 and 150, and it inched up as well just yesterday. And over the weekend too, last weekend. So the homes are still there. When they come on the market, I'm set up so that the second they're listed, so is Nathan, we see them. We see a section, we know what areas they're in because we know the greater Columbus market and all the suburban areas. We see private agent remarks, which tell us immediately, maybe in the regular remarks, it says great investment opportunity or great for the novice investor. Investors and people that flip homes and buy them for rental property for their portfolio span every price range, from the $15,000 and $29,000 up to the $339,000 and want to sell it in Upper Arlington School District for $500,000. It's a full range. I want to speak to something important that one of you said. Coming in on time, under budget is wonderful, and making money, whether you say, oh, we're going to look at our scope of work, we see how much we have to spend, and we're going to make $20,000 or $40,000. Guys, as a novice or a beginning investor or a flipper or holding it for your portfolio, breaking even is a win. That is a win. Breaking even is a win, because guess what? Time flies. We're all adults, and many of us, many people that are in this arena of work have college and day jobs and other jobs and want to get into investing. Breaking even is a win. From my perspective, I would like to go through one that I'm working on right now. I have a client that I met at one of Kathy's amazing events, at a Meetup event, and he and his wife are in construction, and she works for OSU. And we found a property that was listed. This is where your good realtor comes in that knows about paying attention to detail. We found a property in the Hilltop, and well, it was actually a little south, so Franklinton. And the property was saying that it was a 2-bedroom. There were no photos, no garage, nothing about it at all. And when it said that it was a drill entry only. Drill entry means, wow, it's boarded up. So as a realtor, there were no agent remarks. There was just nothing. It was just a decent price property, and all the remarks said was great for the novice investor. We got to the property, and I knew the area, and the wonderful thing is the buyer that I'm speaking of just moved here, just relocated to Columbus, had no idea, but knew that Franklinton was up and coming for this opportunity. The property had squatters in it. The property from the outside looked like a storybook, a cute little Cape Cod with a pointed roof and a walkway that was all curvy, a gorgeous curb appeal, a brick home. Squatters were inside the home. The home was destroyed, a lot of drug paraphernalia and usage. It took us a lot to get into the home because the doors had been kicked in. The drill entry didn't matter because the doors had been kicked in. It was really a unique opportunity. Guess what happened, guys? When we got into this home, other than there being trash and some paraphernalia and squatters being in the home, the water was not on, the electricity was on. Other than that, this turned out to be a 4-bedroom home with a full basement that was dry and a 2-car detached garage. Nobody denoted the 2 bedrooms upstairs. Nobody took the time to write extra remarks. So for Nathan and myself and his realtors, we know the neighborhoods, and we can actually look at other sources on the internet to say, well, what is the above ground square footage, the below ground? How many bedrooms does it really have? Wow, look at that detached 2-car garage. That's amazing. So after this property just recently in the last 60 days, guys, fell in and out of contract a couple of times, my perspective is that if he wasn't scared of it, the price was right. And we knew that we could sell it for about 2.5 times what the purchase cost was. And there was damage on the ceiling, peeling paint. It actually took the police coming to have the squatters leave the property. The property right this moment, with lots of talking, believe it or not, guys, neighbors talk too. That's another thing. There's always a neighbor that wants to come out and talk about what's going on with the house, or who had it, or are we buying it. So from my point of view, I ran the comparable sales and the numbers to say, this is what you can sell it for. I looked at the condition of the home, and it really, truly, I could see after we did the budget and the scope of work, which is where we defer to Paul and Roman and Nathan and Kathy, you too, of course. We looked at what needed done and what price point and what are we going to put the cost in, the cost efforts for what can we resell it for. How much is it going to be contractors and how much is it going to be elbow grease? And the property right now, it's been under 60 days. It's almost finished. This property is going to be relisted on the open market, but guess what? Coronavirus hit. And even though all of us in this panel right now don't have the same anxieties, because we can see how quickly these properties are being listed. They're still being bought. And yeah, there's a lot of big fish out there, but there's also people just like regular guys and gals all day long. And you don't always have to, you don't even have to buy with cash money. You can start out in this opportunity using a loan. You sure can. And you can still sell it and you can still make money. But this particular property, we had to have a backup plan. Gosh, what can we list it for now with coronavirus? And is anyone going to buy it? Well, we have a backup plan. That backup plan is high rent. To go ahead and hold it, of course we're going to list it. Why wouldn't we try? And then the backup plan is to use this as a marketed rental property to add to this person's portfolio if need be. I don't think we're going to need to do that at all. In terms of my perspective from a real estate agent, you've got to work with an agent that knows investing, the scope of work, having a portfolio, what the costing details are, what the neighborhood is, what the comparable sales are, how quick can we turn it around. Another thing people forget to look at, let's look at that neighborhood. Are there sex offenders close by? Is there anything going on with the taxes? Are there liens against the property? So when you spoke, Roman, about having your team in place, and Nathan, you too, about relying on your other team members, everyone has a role. And as a realtor, I come in and there's a whole 8 pieces to the pie, and I can touch on each one of those, from finding it, doing the footwork, to knowing all the private things about the property, looking at the comparable sales in the neighborhood, checking the condition, going to work and helping you, everyone, to find contractors, which we can all find on Angie's List and house websites, but we also, it's word of mouth, word of mouth. Another thing is when work is all done, and of course we want to stay on time and under budget. When the work is done, I have an entire pool of other investors. You've done the work. Now I have investors that want to buy the property from you because they just want to rent it out. That's what they want. They want to add it to their portfolio in that manner. Huge note on one, oh guys, just one sec. I have somebody coming in just one sec. On another note, when the property is ready to list, any good real estate agent knows that when you flip a property, first impressions are everything. The pictures are everything. Yes, we're going to put it in the MLS. Yes, it's going to be listed. But guess what? I have a whole pocket full of people. I'm on private email chains, and so is Nathan. I'm sure Roman, you and Paul are. Kathy, I know you are. Because we've all created this group effort, I'm on private emails that I get every week that are called pocket listings. These are listings that aren't even listed in the MLS, but the MLS is still a great way to find your property. Once a property is ready to be either rented out or flipped and sold for a profit, which is what we're discussing, first impressions and the look of that property are everything. This is where staging comes in. Professional photography, professional drones. My firm only uses, on the lowest price homes, guys, it could be $59,000. It could be less. Professional photography, drones, light staging. It can be staging done with real furniture, artwork, greenery, candles, or it can be done virtual staging, and it's worth it. For a couple, $200-300 bucks, guess what? You're going to make 10 to 20% more on flipping your property, which is what matters, going that extra mile in the end to put the money in your pocket. And people are buying right now with the coronavirus if they can. Whole group have anxiety. What's happening? Our price is going down. Every single morning as we speak today, in the midst of the coronavirus, we're not going to peak for about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4. Every morning I look at the hot sheet of every property listed in the Columbus MLS. I belong to other MLSs as well. Do you know how many of those in the private agent remarks are already going into multiple offers? It's amazing. So the opportunity is still there during this time. Recapping, having your team in place, knowing what areas of expertise that you have, knowing that the first time, second time, breaking even is a win. It's an absolute win. Having an agent who's dedicated to doing all the legwork and the footwork behind the scenes to find out every detail on a property. If nobody else is touching it, why not? Then as you go through the process of fixing it, taking advice and asking other people's opinions, because everyone's opinions count, even though like Nathan mentioned, don't listen to naysayers or negativity, because you can see after doing this 1 or 2 times or doing it 22 times, time flies, and you're going to get it under your belt that you've completed the opportunity, you've completed a property, you're going to learn from it, you're going to make mistakes from it, but when you flip it, it's going to be marketed correctly so that if you made a mistake and you lost a little bit of money during the process or with a contractor, you're going to make it up in the end by having it look incredible when you do go to sell it and put that money in your pocket and reinvest it into the next one, which oftentimes with the right realtor or with Paul or Roman or Nathan or Kathy, it can be sold before it even hits the market. Yes. Whole nother story. It can be sold even before then. And before you know it, that ball is rolling and the success is happening. Hey, is it going to be easy?
That was easy.
No, no, but it is fruitful. And it's worth it. And I love what I do, just like each of the rest of you. And I'm here to help or give my advice in any way that I can. And everything that you all said really was right on point. And Kathy, you've got a great set of people right here. You do, because everything Absolutely. They said is completely accurate.
Stephanie, before you go, I know you've got a client at your door. Tell us how folks can get in touch with you. Give us a way to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. I have an office in the village of Canal Winchester. I have an office in Gahanna and an office in New Albany. I'm with Remax Connection, and the name of my company is Stephanie Jenkins Home Group. If you Google that, should come right up. My telephone number is 614-678-1912. And my email is stephaniejenkins@remax.net. And even if I want your whole audience to know, even if if the audience is working with other realtors, I have no problem at all helping to answer questions or teaching their realtor the things that I've learned over 22 years.
That's why we love you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put you on mute so you can go ahead and take care of your client.
I have a beautiful picture window in front of me. I have a beautiful picture window, and I do have clients here now. They're out front, out the window. They knew I was on this call. But the house that I'm looking at, the brick across the street, I want you all to know, about 2 weeks ago, the sign went in the yard. It was out within 2 hours. And it's still happening, guys. It's still happening. But thank you so much for all of your input. I love it. I'm still here with you.
Okay. Roman, give us a way to contact you guys. If any of our listeners are interested in getting some numbers from you guys, there's Paul's back again. Give us a way to contact you and how to do business with you.
Right. So all of us have emails. You guys can reach me at roman@spacecreaterenovations.com. Basically, if you're interested in us giving you free consultation, just simply, put your phone number, email in there. Obviously address where we need to meet you guys at. And one of our guys, Paul, Nathan, or even Josh can come out, or myself as well, can come out there and meet you guys. So it's very simple. You can also contact me directly at phone number 706-231-5575. The best way to reach me, because I get like so many calls, like if I took a screenshot of them, you'd be like, okay, this guy's like constantly living on the phone, which is true. So if you guys just text me, say, hey, we saw, you guys do renovations, we were looking for some consultation. Just kind of give us a little bit about what you're looking to do, whether it's a property you guys currently own, if something you guys want to invest as starting off, or just wherever you guys are at. We have the people in place and the resources for you to help you guys. So just give us a little more information on what you guys want to do, and we'll put you guys directly in contacts with, the right people. And if we personally can't do something, we'll definitely hook you guys up with somebody.
We can always find someone. We're networkers.
Right. We're networkers, born networkers. So we can definitely get you guys, if we can't do something, we'll definitely take care of you. Because, this is what we are. We're a team. This is how we network, So, Nathan, do you have anything that you want to give? Because I know you have your own personal phone number, email, that way people can help you out as well.
If anyone wants to pick my brain about some mindset stuff and just need some motivation or anything like that too, I do a lot of, I don't professionally consult people, but I'm definitely a good pep talker. So if someone just has questions about it, or if they want to, hear more about my story too, my number is 614-395-7044. You can call or text, and then my email is nathan@spacecreaterenovations.com, and you can get a hold of me. Any of those ways are fine. So,
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Facebook, you guys could go to our website, www.spacecreaterenovations.com. Take a look at recent jobs we had completed. We had a couple of houses, we call it the house of the month. With coronavirus and everything kind of slowed down. Unfortunately, we don't have a house winner, but we're actually looking to put 4 houses in the market within roughly 2 to 3 weeks. So we're definitely going to be updating our Facebook with new homes that are going on the market, our webpage. But yeah, I mean, please feel free to go on there, scroll, read. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate. Just text. It's that simple. That's the way to reach. Very simple. So, yeah, Paul, do you want to go ahead and also share some of your information as well?
Yeah, okay. I don't have a Space Create email yet, but my email is paulyreborn@gmail.com, PAULYREBORN. And my phone number is 440-458-2365. Yeah, and I'm available if you calls, talks, anything people need. Although I might call Nathan for a pep talk now later. Yeah, but we're all a team. Actually, it becomes like a family. Like when people start working with us, they become part of the family. So it's the relationship. You got to show love, respect. So it's just a team and a family.
And I know to get on the meeting here, but I wanted to give Josh's information as well, so that if anybody has specific questions as far as like actual on foot kind of on the ground foot kind of thing, questions about electric, HVAC, I mean whatever you can think of. I want you guys to also reach out to him. His email is josh@spacecreaterenovations.com, and his phone number is 740-816-0101. So, if Paul or myself can't, answer immediately, Josh is always available as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. I really appreciate all of you. You're a great team. I'm so happy that I've met you. I have another connection there with Nathan, in the fact that I think my son-in-law knew you from before. So that was, yeah, it's definitely a small world. I get that. And just to close out for today, I'm Kathy Benner. I am a passive income coach and a health and wealth educator, and you can visit my website at kathybenner.com. I'm the one that actually created this Happy House Hunters group. We've been together for several years now, and it's just recently really taken off with our meetups, and then of course we came to a screeching halt with the meetups with all the shutdowns and closures at the moment. But this is a perfect opportunity for us to get together on a call like this and still bring value to the group. And again, contact any of us. You have all of our contact information. We're here to help. We love what we do. Any one of us can tell you our why. And it's all about that freedom number. It's all about having the freedom to live whatever dream you have. And it doesn't matter what that dream is. It gives you the freedom in real estate to generate the cash flow, the equity, the retirement, whatever your goals are. It gives you the freedom to do that. So connect with us. Stay tuned. We're going to post the link to this particular call on our Happy House Hunters Facebook page, also in our Happy House Hunters Meetup group. And we don't know if we're going to get to see you face to face next month yet. We still may be extending these closures and shutdowns. And if that's the case, we'll come again in a call like this, but we will get back together at Gresso's in our meetup just as quickly as we are allowed to do that. In the meantime, support all of your restaurants like Gresso's that are shut down at this time. They're trying to keep their staff employed as well. Again, we were talking before we started recording today, a lot of these restaurants also had food that they already had in stock that they were going to lose. So they're trying to do carryouts just to keep their businesses afloat. So support your small business, and just know there's lots of money out there, folks. Don't get into the mindset that that everyone's broke, because that's not the case. So anyway, hang in there. And with that, we're going to say goodbye. And so say goodbye, fellas, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. It was great
I'm
meeting
going
you.
to stop the recording.